host parents, it's Yulia, executive function coach, and in this video I'm going to address you homeschool parents out there who want to integrate more of the executive function skills that you are reading through in the assessment into the lesson with your kids. And the main idea here, parents, is the best way to teach your child executive functioning is to model it. When you get together and you're sharing space together, their brains will mimic your brains. We have these mirror neurons, and that allows us to influence our kids by simply practicing these skills in front of them. So what I'm going to share with you is my 12 tips to integrate and build executive function practices into your homeschool sessions so that you're going to address this every single time you work together naturally over time and build these skills little by little over time. So I'm going to go through this as fast as possible. Just so this video isn't an hour long, because there's a lot I want to share with you. So first of all, before or as you're starting the session, I like to delegate 3 to 5 minutes for a self-care check. And this is very simple check-in with yourself, with your child, and you ask yourselves, how do I feel right now? What do I need right now? Help them to drop into their body and feel their body. Maybe they feel tense and they need a stretch. Do they feel sleepy or tired or thirsty? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you need a snack? Do you need a fidget? Do you need to clear off the environment so that it's less cluttered and it's easier for you? Whatever it takes, set aside a little chunk of time to focus on that first. Number 2 tip is reach before you teach. Coaches practice this all the time, and that is to really connect with your child, get to know how they're feeling in that moment. If there's any thoughts that are kind of taking priority in their mind that are going to prevent them from jumping into the session, any feelings that they're experiencing that they need to talk through or get out before they are ready to listen and learn. And talk about their victories, talk about things that they're proud of, maybe write down stuff that they're proud of, really connect with them and get their buy-in, for this session. Step number 3, and this will get them more buy-in and activate their executive function, is this idea of putting your child in charge of as much as possible during the session. Help them take the lead. And I do this with kids really young and with adults too. So obviously the younger they are, the more you're going to prompt and scaffold and support them, but give them at least an opportunity to think about how they would do this and what they would do and what's first, what's next, what are we doing today. Let them talk it out loud. And then step number 4 is to write down a concrete plan and break it into tiny bite-sized steps. So if you have an assignment you're working on, what are the little concrete steps that they're going to need to take in order to execute that assignment? Plan what the materials you're going to need so that you can organize that before you start. Plan things out in chunks and set a time. How much time do they reasonably believe is going to take them? Now, this conversation is so important because it's going to allow your kid to visualize everything they're about to do, and that's just going to really set them up for doing that on a subconscious level. It's going to go a long way to helping you navigate through the session. Let's see. So once you write down the plan, you want to make sure to incorporate any breaks that they're going to take. Maybe you're working for 20 or 30 minutes at a time and checking in for a break. Sometimes I'll allow my students to stop and take a unscheduled break, set the timer, do what they need to do, give them space to come back and set the next timer for getting that work done. So just being really flexible but planning at the same time so that they know what to expect. I also like to ask them, what is that thing they're looking forward to once we are done? Because they're thinking about it, and if you allow them to really plan ahead for that and write it down and give them a nice big chunk, they're going to know that there's enough time later to do that. They're going to get it out and be ready to focus on something they might not prefer to do, right? So Before you start, organize the materials, set a timer, and go. So make sure your child is as much as possible taking ownership of stuff. So hand them the timer and ask them to set it. Ask them how much time they need. Ask them, where are we in our plan? Point to it. Let's do this first. So number 6, make sure to model flexible thinking and problem solving. I guarantee you something's going to happen that isn't to plan, or something's going to take longer. Something's going to be an obstacle that's going to maybe cause frustration. So model flexible thinking. Think out loud and get them to problem solve with you. Try to come up with creative solutions, and again, give them ownership and let them share their ideas with you. Sometimes when something goes wrong and this student is frustrated, who I'm working with, I'll say something like, you know what, let's set a 3-minute timer and let's talk about how you feel, what you're gonna do to help yourself calm down or feel better or move through this, or do we need to set this aside and work on something else or take a break. Let them think really flexibly in the moment. Give them lots of time. Sometimes I'll set a timer and just let them think about it for a while before they say anything. And if they can't come up with any solutions, say, that's okay, we can sit here for a little bit longer. I'll write down some of the possible solutions to this problem. You do the same, and we'll come back and we'll share it, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do, and we're going to move forward. And I have confidence that we will figure this out no matter what it is. Number 7, if you are working with a child who is experiencing anxiety, emotions, resistance to working on something, the most important thing you can do is stay emotionally regulated yourself. If you're feeling frustrations bubbling up, if you're feeling triggered, let them know that how you feel. Let them know that what you're going to do, take a little bit of time for yourself. You're going to go outside, you're going to get some fresh air, you're going to drink a sip of water, you're going to have a snack, you're going to take a few deep breaths, and you're going to come back and be ready to address this later. If your child is the one feeling frustrated, let them know that their emotions are totally okay. You get it. Validate how they feel and let them really express themselves. This is another opportunity to set a timer and let them vent and say, I understand how you feel. Tell me more. Don't leave anything out. Tell me more. And really take the time to listen. I know a lot of times, parents, you have to get through so much during the day and it feels like there's not enough time, but I promise you that spending time on this stuff, the meaningful stuff that really matters, is going to help you get through the other stuff a lot faster, because your child is going to be activated and ready, rather than feeling like you're going to be pulling teeth, trying to get them through the lesson. So sometimes if you're having a really hard struggle with something, you want to just drop that expectation. So if they just can't seem to get back into the activity, they don't like it, it's, and you just can't get them to focus, drop the expectation, move on. Later on, you can revisit it and ask them if you can reschedule it for that day or later in the week. Number 8 is, as a coach, I want to give lots of positive feedback and lots of reinforcement, lots of drop away comments, meaning just a really quick acknowledgement of something that they did that was really awesome, that was a bit of effort that they put in, that's a step that they took a little bit more outside their comfort zone that they couldn't take the last time before. So it could be any little comment, as long as it's real, as long as you're not making stuff up, as long as you're not saying to them like, oh, don't worry about it, you're doing great, that's okay, that's not a big deal. Make sure you're giving positive reinforcement for stuff that they are doing well, and addressing any challenges they have, and acknowledging that something is a challenge, and asking them what can they do to get that a little bit better next time. Okay, so step number 9 is to prioritize your child always, instead of prioritizing the lesson or the homework or whatever you're doing. Otherwise, prioritize them and always consider the lesson that you're teaching as a vehicle for helping them to connect with you, connect with the learning, and connect and practice their executive function skills with you. To me, that's always the biggest priority. So for example, here's what this looks like, and this is part of being flexible in the moment. If I have a student who's sitting with me and we make this plan and they're ready to go, and then something happens to make them feel a certain way, or they get triggered by the homework that they're doing. This happened once with a math lesson where the kid just started crying and I was really frustrated that, we had to do math next. Something happened with their teacher, and this evoked a lot of really deep emotions. And my immediate response was, hey, we're going to set the math aside and we're going to help you feel better first. And we talked about the fact that learning this math is way less important, and what's way more important is that they feel safe, is that they feel capable, and that they can re-regulate themselves and get themselves in a better space emotionally before we continue. I prioritize those skills always before prioritizing something like math. Sorry, I might be biased, but that's not as important to me as this other stuff we're practicing. Tip number 10 is baby steps work. Always focus on what your child is doing right and emphasize their strengths. Emphasize that they are not maybe going to feel like they're making a lot of progress. It might feel like it's taking them a lot of effort to do something really simple, but that the more effort they put into it, the more they take little tiny steps forward, the better they're going to get, the easier this stuff is going to feel, and help them reflect on past things that felt this way that they are now better at, that they're easier for them, and helping to reflect on prior things that they're proud of. And victories like this is going to help them create a flexible mindset, a growth mindset moving forward. So even when they're feeling frustrated, feeling like something feels impossible and they can't do it, they're gonna think back and reflect on when they felt like that before and how much easier that thing is now, and they're gonna feel like they absolutely can do it, and they're going to allow you to push them a little bit more outside that comfort zone every single time. So that effort and persistence is what counts and what's being rewarded instead of the outcome. Number 11, take some time during each lesson and incorporate mindfulness and executive function techniques as a direct thing that you are teaching. Sometimes a school curriculum or homeschool curriculum does not incorporate stuff like this, so create space for it and prioritize it, even if your child isn't being graded on it, even if they're not being tested on it. So you can add meaningful lessons like that. There's so many out there online. I would just encourage you to search, because otherwise this video would be 3 hours long. Number 12 is my best tip, and it's the most important one, and that is, if you are not having fun, you are not learning. And parents, if you are not having fun, if you are not passionate, or you feel like you're exploring while you're learning, then your kid is not going to be learning. They might be going through the motions, they might be writing down the answers and filling in the blanks, but they are not retaining this. And what we want to teach kids overall is the love of learning versus the specific curriculum that they're learning. So that's my best tip. My secret sauce during sessions is that we are having fun, we are being silly, we are being creative, we are using new and creative methods to do the same old boring stuff. So maybe have the lesson under the table instead of at the table. I know that's super silly, but do something silly, do something unexpected, and for each little moment of fun and joy that you have, you're going to increase your child's ability to focus and work for the next 20 minutes. This is a scientifically recorded fact that for every little moment of joy and surprise and creativity, that's going to improve your child's focus for the next 20 minutes. So pepper that stuff in, be excited, be a possibilities person, and let your child know that they can expect that you're going to bring out your inner child, so that you can expect them to bring out their inner adult, and have a nice balance throughout your session of that. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any other tips to add to this, please share them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and good luck moving forward with your homeschooling. If I can help in any other way, please let me know. Take care.